ultimate team. NYMLB is the place to be. Bob and Chris with the pitch you'll see. Swinging stacks and stories fly. Baseball talk that's amplified.
And welcome to a new episode, a special episode, pregame opening day special, Pirates versus Mets today. And if you're on YouTube, hit that sub button. We would really appreciate it. Remember, follow us on TikTok and on Twitter at NYMLB Talk, Rob at R. Maraska, myself at CP7NY. So the Yankees win last night 7-0 on their opening game. What are the Mets going to do today against Paul Skeens? And they got their ace, Freddie Peralta, going. Rob.
Well, Chris, we know that the Mets have the best all-time opening day winning percentage in the history of Major League Baseball with a record of 41-23. That's a .641 winning percentage from 1962 to 2025. So the Mets, and this is after, the Mets lost their first 8 consecutive opening day games, and then, they went wild. And in fact, I was at every Met opening day game from 1979 till 2007. And I saw a lot of great things. Tom Seaver's return, Gary Carter in 85 with the walk-off home run. So there's been a lot of great opening day moments for the Mets. The problem is the end of the season moments for the Mets.
Yeah, you want it to end the way it starts. As a Met fan, right?
Right. But so far, listen, and we'll make our picks at the end of the show. And Armin, happy opening day. Yes, to you too.
Happy opening day.
Listen, I'm big on this team. I'm happy with the moves, and I think the Mets are going to have a really good season this year, Chris.
Yeah, I think so too. They got the talent on there. Yeah, are there question marks? Sure. But when you look at, especially when you look at the rest of the division, the Phillies got tons of question marks. The Braves now, with all their pitching issues, they got question marks as well. So, and the Marlins, you don't know what you're going to get there. Nationals, they look like they're destined for a really tough season. So, hey, why not? With the Mets, I think the Mets got the better rotation out of the division for sure. The bullpen, that's the other question mark, right? What Devin Williams are you getting? Are you getting the Brewers Devin Williams, or are you getting the Yankee Devin Williams? Hopefully the Brewers guy is going to be there for you guys. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting year, I think, that whole division, right? Because it could go in a lot of different ways, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And I hope that we're going to get the National League Devin Williams and not the American League Yankee Devin Williams. That's for sure. Because and thank you, Dan. Thanks. You guys last night, you killed the Giants without your main guy getting a hit. In fact, Judge struck out a bunch of times, but you still did it. So that's what matters. And yes, with all the Braves injuries, Armand and Profar, dumb decision, I think that's possible. Definitely.
Absolutely. Listen, if the Marlins young team puts it all together, they could do it. I have the Mets winning 87 games and getting. I don't think they're getting a wild card spot at 87 wins. I'll be honest. I think you have to get at least 90 to get a wild card spot this year because you got a lot of good teams this year, right? So I don't know if 87 is going to be enough, and I think in that division they have a really good chance to win that division because they got the better pitching of all those teams in that division. So we'll see. But let's take a look real quick at the opening day lineup for the Mets and the Pirates. So here's the Mets lineup. You got Lindor leading off. So all that injury problem early on, he's back in the lineup, which is great. Juan Soto in the number 2 spot. Bichette, Polanco. This is where those are the guys that are going to make the difference offensively, hopefully. Polanco, Robert Jr., that's the question mark too. What Luis Robert Jr. are you getting offensively, right? You're going to get a good defensive player, but
definitely,
right? Who are you going to get offensively? Beatty, is he going to take a step up from last year? Because he's going to play a lot this year, without a doubt. Simeon, that's another guy. He regressed a little bit last year offensively, but he's going to have that great glove, but is he going to get back to the way he was offensively? Benj, the rookie, he looked really good in spring training, right? And then you got Alvarez. That's another question mark, right? So,
Right.
well, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's questions, like I said, and I want to say hello to our friend in Turkey. It's good to see you back out there. We love when you come on the show and you comment. Listen, I'm happy with the moves the Mets made. Like I've said a ton of times, it didn't start out too good, and the Diaz move is the one that really gets me the most, even though I loved Alonso, but the past is gone. Okay, the fielding of the infield, the defense, of course you're worried about that. With Bochette at third, we know how he played shortstop, right? And now he's moving to third. And Polanco has only played one inning in a major league game at first. But, let's see what happens. Simeon, he's going to be solid defensively. Last year, we know that his offense wasn't that great. So we'll see if he could bounce back with this lineup. I also want to see what kind of Francisco Alvarez we're going to get. Is he going to get hurt? He's injury prone so far as I'm concerned. So what are we going to get with him? Beatty, I think Beatty's going to be solid, and I think he's going to continue to grow because Beatty, and I'm glad that I've told you this. I'm glad that they didn't trade Beatty because I think they need him in case something goes wrong in that infield. He could take over. So I'm happy with that. And yes, I'm excited, just like you are, to see Benj in the outfield. I want to see what he's going to do, and I'm glad that the Mets have him on the opening day roster, Chris.
Yeah, no, me too. I listen. I'm a Yankee fan. I love seeing the young kids come up. I would have liked to have seen Dominguez or Spencer Jones up there, but yeah, I'm with you. I love seeing the young kid get the chance, and I think too, like, he's not being brought up to bat first or second in the lineup, right? They're batting him, today they're batting him eighth, which is great. There's no pressure on the kid, right? He doesn't have to come up and win Rookie of the Year. Just go out there, relax, and just do your best, play your game, right? Don't get overwhelmed by the situation. So I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And listen, it's exciting. It's exciting to see him being brought up. The pitching staff, I'm happy with the pitching staff now. I'm happy with the starters. It's looking pretty good with the rotation. Peralta, of course. I mean, once the Mets made that move, we could take a deep breath. Because that was a great move. Peterson, hopefully he's going to have a solid season this year. Last season you saw signs of really great pitching from him with the complete game. So hopefully that's going to continue. McLean, I'm happy to see McLean here in the beginning of the year and for the full year. I want to see what he's going to do. And Holmes, listen, Holmes gave us more than we thought last year. He was fantastic as a starting pitcher, and Chris, as a Yankee fan, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like, wow, maybe if the Yankees would have tried that, our rotation would have been even better?
Yeah, that's definitely it. Obviously, being a closer was just not his thing, right? He had a nice streak where he was like unhittable the first half of the year, and then the second half, yeah, he just wasn't that guy. But maybe this is where he belongs as a starter. Maybe he's more comfortable being a starter, and it actually showed last year with you guys. So you can only expect a little bit more from him this year as a starter, as he gets more, even more comfortable as the starting pitcher, right, over being a reliever. So I feel really good. I'll be honest. Before you answer, Rob, I'll say this. Robert was a guy I think I wanted to as a Yankee because, that was before the whole Grisham thing. But Robert's got the ability, right, to hit over 30 home runs, get 30 stolen bases, be Golden Glove in center field defensively. Like, he's that type of player. So Acuna what was he going to be for you guys, right? He was going to be like a utility guy. There was no starting role for him. So there wasn't really a good position for him on the team. So, and what was his ceiling, right? Do you see him as a starting second baseman, third baseman, shortstop, outfield? I don't know. So I think that was a move worth doing. 1-for-1. You take your shot. Listen, if he stinks, you move on from him. If he's great, it was a great trade.
Yeah, I mean, we know his defense is going to be good, right? Let's see what's going to happen with his bat. Acuna, listen, and it's a good opportunity for Acuna Jr. I mean Acuna also, not Junior, to play for the White Sox because he's going to get more playing time. And the White Sox they showed a little improvement. They made the deals and a few deals, so they at least did something. So it's good for him. I think it's just a win-win for both. And if the Mets get something out of Robert's bat, it'll be a plus for the Mets, Chris.
Yeah, I totally agree because he's going to be a Gold Glove level center fielder, right? So you're getting at least that. And if he could stay healthy, because that's the other issue with him too, he does miss some games. If he could stay healthy, that's a really good center fielder regardless, right? Defensively, that's an automatic. It's the offense. Can he, cut down on the strikeouts? Can he get the average a little bit up there? Armand, his bold prediction was he's going to play 150 games, hit 270, and go 25-25. You know what? If he does that, the Mets that's a great situation. But here's the thing. He's got a ceiling that's even higher than that. That's how good Luis Robert has shown he could be. It's just that we haven't seen that, in about 3 years. So
yeah, hopefully we see it this year. And Joe Dell thinks Peterson's going to have his best year ever. That would be great if he does. And don't mention injuries. And listen to any team. Look at the Atlanta Braves right now. So we'll talk about the picks later, but that goes into effect with that. Now the bullpen, of course, I'm a little worried about the bullpen. Having a couple of ex-Yankees in there, I'm not sure. Listen, I actually like the signing of Luke Weaver. I did. I want to see what he does as a Met. Maybe a change from the Bronx to Queens will do him good. Devin Williams, let's hope he's back with Stearns, right? Stearns loves him. In Milwaukee, he was an excellent reliever for Milwaukee until Pete hit that home run, which we keep bringing. But I don't know if that's what happened. He has a year under his belt in New York, right? He started off really bad, but towards the end, he got better. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we could trust him as our closer. Listen, he's no Diaz, that's for sure. But there's nothing we could do about it. Diaz wanted to be a Dodger, and that's it. You got to move on. We'll definitely win this game. Yeah, let's hope the Mets could get Skeens out of there early. That's the key with this game. And the Braves, yes, the Braves are definitely hurting, which is a good thing for us. That's for sure. And Chris, I have a question for you. What is the Mets' obsession with Richard Lovelady?
I don't know. I guess because he's a left-handed relief pitcher. Is he a guy that's going to, be released and then come back about 4 times this year for the Mets? I don't know. I have no idea. Is he just keeping someone else's seat warm in the bullpen? Like, is somebody out right now for you guys and they're going to bring him in? Like, that's what he seems like. He seems like a guy that's just there until another guy is going to be available, whether it's a guy who's injured or a guy in AAA that's ready to come up. I think that's all he is. But it's pretty amazing, right? If you're a lefty, you're going to last a long time in the majors if you want.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Armand. Yes, Minter is on the IL, and Minter is due to come back at some point. But still, Dick Lovelady. I mean,
yeah, I know.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't get more like you shouldn't be a pitcher, but unfortunately, he is here. I think he got lost in what career path he should have took actually, but here's the Pirates lineup, and you could see like this is a lot better lineup than they've had in a few years, right? Like they've got. I'm not saying it's a great lineup, but it's sure as hell better than it's been in previous years.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, Pittsburgh they made some moves, right? They got O'Hearn, they got Ozuna, Mason Montgomery. So they did make some moves. Remember they still have Brian Reynolds and I wonder, how is Cruz gonna play this year? So it's a better lineup. They made some moves. They just didn't sit there. And we've always said that they got such a beautiful ballpark, and no one's there. They have, except when Skeens pitches. So they have to do something. And I guess they're going in the right direction, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a pretty good lineup. The only thing is, like, when you look at they said the Pirates are the number one or the most popular team or getting the most money put on them to make the playoffs this year, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably had low odds, so you're taking a shot. I get that, but you're also in a tough division, right? When you look at the rest of that division, right? You got the Cubs, you got the Reds who made the playoffs last year, right? And then you still got to throw the Brewers in too. They're a really good team as well. So, I mean, other than the Cardinals, you got you got four decent teams in that division. So that's another tough division. And this lineup, yeah, it's much better than what it's been. You mentioned O'Neal Cruz. Can he finally break out, right? Like, he's been that guy you're kind of waiting to see like a 30-30, 40-40 type season, a little bit better average, right? But we haven't seen that. Brandon Lowe, they picked up from Tampa. Brian Reynolds, pretty consistent over his career. Ozuna, you know him from the Braves. Ryan O'Hearn, Spencer Horwitz, they added from, I think he was on Toronto. So, yeah, you got a pretty, that's a lot better lineup than we've seen. But can they, are we going to see this team win over 80 games and be a possible wild card team? That's going to be the real question with the Pirates.
Yeah, definitely. And the Mets, let's hope the Mets go back to the form where they win opening days instead of lose opening days. I agree with that. We talked about this right before we got on the air, Chris, with the Brewers.
Yeah.
Losing
out for 4 weeks, and he got hurt during the WBC, so I'm sure everybody's going to bring that up.
Yeah, and Neil, that's right. We were just going to say that. We talked about that before. The Mets signed Tommy Pham to a minor league contract, so I guess that's some backup for the outfield. Listen, when he was on the Mets, he was pretty decent. So we'll see what happens. I guess, Chris, nobody really showed interest in him during the offseason, though.
Yeah, I mean, he had to settle for a minor league deal, and like I said, like, that's a pretty good guy to have in AAA waiting to be brought up, right? In case of an injury, which we know it happens, right? It happens for all of us. Every team, there's always injuries, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good depth down in AAA to have ready to come up. So let's show everybody last year's opening day lineup to this year's for you guys. Like, we talk about the Pirates adding. You guys went through major changes to that lineup, right? So what do you think here when we compare the two?
Yeah, and I mean, that the core guys who left, we weren't winning with them, right? Of course, everybody was upset that Nimmo was leaving, that Alonso was leaving, McNeil, he was done. So we're not even going to talk about McNeil. And of course, Diaz, because, I mean, Diaz, how are you going to replace Diaz as a closer, really? But when the Mets started to get serious, when they signed Bo Bichette and they stole him from the Phillies because the Phillies thought that they had him signed the night before. So, you know what? Good. That was a good shock to the Phillies fan system and the Phillies system. Polanco, like we said, listen, with Seattle, he's a clutch guy, but he's only played one inning at first base. So we have to see what happens, right? Simeon, we know his defense is going to be good. It's the bat. He's older, and that's what the question mark is. The offense. Benj, we spoke about. I'm so glad to see him. I love when an exciting young player is out there with the veterans in the mix, because it just, you get to see what this kid is going to be. And, hopefully he's going to play as advertised, and we're going to get to see that. So I'm happy about that. And, Acuna, like I said, he's the White Sox. That was a good deal, right? Robert in center field, his defense is going to be great too. It's just, let's see if his bat's going to go back to what it was. That's how I feel. I think that, it's a solid lineup. They needed to make changes because they weren't winning with the core guys. It just wasn't happening. We know the clubhouse was a little messed up. We don't exactly know what went on, but Chris, that's what I think. What do you, as a Yankee fan and an outsider, how do you feel about these two lineups?
Yeah, no, like you said, they didn't win with that lineup. So I'm all for changing it up and, and doing all that. So I'm totally fine with this lineup. Is it deeper than last year's?
Yeah.
You know what? It could be deeper. That's the thing. It could be. Like the ceiling, I would say, is much higher with this one, without a doubt, than last year's. And the big thing is, can they win with this lineup? That's going to be, the end of the line story here that we're going to be talking about by the end of the season. Can they win with this lineup? The pitching is there, right? The rotation, you got it. The bullpen, listen, if Williams goes back to what he was, you're fine. They'll figure out the middle and the setup guy one way or the other. So it's the lineup. It's the defense, right? At the corners, specifically, like, is Polanco going to be okay at first base? Is Bichette going to be okay at third base? Those are the two that are, the ones that you kind of like, okay, let's cross our fingers. Let's hope it's not horrible. If it's okay, you could live with it. If it's below average, and it starts to cost you runs, yeah, then you're going back to what it was last year, because that was the whole thing. They wanted to improve their defense and everything else. So
right.
I think it could be deeper, but it's going to be up to those, I think, the corner guys, because I think the other positions are pretty solid. Up the middle, you're good. The corners and Soto, we're not talking about it, but Soto and left is, do you feel more comfortable, less comfortable, or the same as he was in right field?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I feel about the same right now. We'll just have to see what happens. His defense is what it is, right? That's not why you have him. You have him for his bat. So we're just going to have to see how he is in left. He played left field for the Nats, right, and for the Padres. So it's not like it's new to him. So it is his defense is what it is. So I feel about the same. It does, that's how I feel, Chris.
Yeah, I'm with you, definitely. Here's a little trivia for you. Paul Skeens versus Freddie Peralta will be the 5th opening day starting pitching matchup between the league's reigning ERA leader and that league's reigning wins leader, including ties, in the expansion era since 1961. He's joining. It happened 4 other times before this.
Is DeGrom really one? What?
It's really tough. One of them does include the Mets.
Who, Seaver?
No, it was very recent in 2019. I'll give you the year.
So it would have to be DeGrom,
right? And he was facing Scherzer that year.
Oh, sure, okay.
And then you go back to 2015, Felix Hernandez against Jared Weaver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that. 2010 was Zach Greinke versus Justin Verlander. And the furthest one was 1969 between Luis Tiant and Denny McLain.
Wow, Denny McLain, Tigers. Wow, yeah, that's pretty good, Chris. Pretty good trivia.
I thank you to Sarah Lang for that. She's a great follow on Twitter. Please follow her. Sarah Lang's great baseball follow. If you're not following her, she's amazing. When I say she's one of the best people out there, she is.
Yeah. And before I forget, our good friend Neil's out there, and we're going to, in a week or two, we're going to give away one of the CDs that he sent me for the Ronnie Hill Band, which is great. And you, Chris, you really like the Ronnie Hill Band.
Yeah, I love it. They're on Spotify, so I check them out all the time. Really good, that bluesy rock sound. I love it.
Great.
Definitely check them out.
Yeah, definitely check them out. So now, once we get through with all this opening day and opening week stuff, we're definitely going to give a CD away. Neil was kind enough to send us a few, so that's great. But anyway, another thing, like I said before, that has me a little worried is Alvarez. What are we going to get from Alvarez? is he going to have a solid year? You know, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. What's going to happen with him? I hope so. I hope that he's not an injury-prone guy, you know, and I hope it's just been a fluke the past couple of years. But I don't know. What do you think about Alvarez, Chris?
Yeah, you know what? It comes down to just stay healthy for some of these guys, right? Just he's young. You know what? You know what the ceiling is with that guy. You know, you see the power with him. He's pretty solid defensively. So you know he could be that guy that you want. You know, it's almost like when the Yankees got Sanchez at the beginning, right? Like
Right.
he just, you know, he blew up on the scene. He looked great the first couple of years, but then he just cratered real fast because of numerous reasons. But I think with Alvarez, it's just a matter of staying healthy, right? Because it's there. You've seen it when he's healthy and he's on, you know, and he's on his game. Yeah, that guy could be one of the better catchers in the league, offensive catchers, and he's pretty solid defensively, right? So just stay healthy, man.
That's it.
Especially young. Like you want to keep developing your game, and the only way you're going to do that is playing, right? And staying healthy. And I think that's all he's got to do.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And you think Vientos is going to have a good year this season? You've spoke about it during the off season.
I thought so, but after spring training, I don't know if that's
That's what I was going to say. But
Well,
looking at the spring, okay, it's only spring training.
Right.
But looking at the spring training that he had, you know,
oof.
I don't know. You know, I don't know if Vientos is going to be what we thought Vientos was going to be. He's got to show. You know, he showed. You know, once in a while he showed some. You know, some power, but I don't know. I don't know if he's at advertised anymore. And yes, his spring wasn't that great.
And you know what? Maybe he's one of those players that a change of scenery might be best, because right now he really doesn't have a role, right? He doesn't have a starting position. You know, what is he? A third baseman, first baseman, DH? He's not even that right now. Now he's just a guy on the bench who's going to play occasionally, probably, right? Maybe against lefties. That's not, and this is why the Yankees, you know, put Dominguez down in AAA, because there's really no starting spot for him. And a guy like that needs to play every game. And I think Vientos is that exact, you know, I'm surprised he made the roster, because what is he going to do? You know, I'd rather see him playing every day in AAA and developing, and you know what, have him come up when, you know, when he's needed, or possibly trade him. I think that's probably the best thing. I was surprised a team like the Pirates didn't try to trade for him. You know, a team that could take a chance, that could take a risk, and maybe, hey, you know what, this kid might be the guy you seen a couple of years ago and not who you seen last year or during the spring training.
I agree. And before we get to our picks, I just wanted to say one other thing about the Mets pitching staff. And I want to talk about Senga for a second. I think that if he stays healthy with that ghost pitch, I think he's going to have a solid year. I think the key for him also is staying healthy, because that ghost pitch could be nasty. So if he stays healthy, I think he's going to have a solid year. But let's go with okay, Chris, what's your National League picks?
You know what? I went with the Phillies for the East, only because, I mean, they have question marks too, but they also have guys that you know are going to do what they're going to do, right? You know what they're going to do. If Wheeler comes back, you know, if he could come back to what he was, then I think they'll be fine with him and Sanchez up top, Duran in the bullpen. The lineup is what it is. I just took them. I like the Mets. I think it's going to be a close race. To me, it was a toss-up. I actually wrote the Mets, and then I scratched them out. So I got the Phillies winning the East. Then the Central, the Cubs. I think it was either Cubs or Brewers there. The West, all right, it's LA, right? We know that. And my wild cards, I got the Padres, the Mets, and the Brewers.
Okay. And who do you have for the National League Championship Series?
I got the Cubs over the Dodgers, just because I'm tired of hearing the Dodgers back in the World Series.
Okay.
So I just had to pick someone. I just picked the Cubs. I was just tired of it.
All right. My picks are the Mets are going to win the East. All right. I feel more confident now than I did about a month ago. I think the Phillies are old. Wheeler's a big question mark. They listen, they have a great closer, but they're older, and the catching situation, he's just old. So I'm gonna pick the Mets. I'm gonna pick the Cubs in the Central. Okay, I think the Cubs are gonna take it over the Brewers, and of course the Dodgers in the West. My wild card are gonna be the Phillies, the Brewers, and the Padres. And in the National League Championship Series, I think it's going to be a rematch of the 2024 series with the Mets and Dodgers. So there are my picks.
And do you have the Mets winning?
Right now,
You got to say yes, right?
I got to say yes, but
Yeah.
we know the Dodgers are just the Dodgers.
Right. I'm just tired. I'm just
crazy.
tired of
tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm upset. Yeah, the Mets get really hot in the postseason. There you go. But anyway, all right, Chris. Our half hour is up. Everybody wants to get ready for.
So wait, who's your World Series pick?
My World Series pick. I wanted to save that because we didn't pick one last night either.
Well, that's good. So now we could pick.
All right, it's probably okay. I'm gonna, an analyst type. It's gonna seriously kidding around with the Mets. It's probably gonna be the Yankees and the Dodgers again. But I'm hoping it's the Yankees and the Mets, even though you don't want to see that.
No.
But I do.
Nothing against you personally, Rob.
I know that.
I trust me. I want to see all my friends happy, but it's just too stressful for me. I don't think I could handle another one.
That's what I would love to see, a Subway Series. That would be great. But the Dodgers are just the Dodgers, and they might win number three in a row. Who knows? But yeah, the 1990s Dallas Cowboys.
No, actually, not the Cowboys. They would be more like the Yankees because the Yankees are the last team to win 3 in a row.
Okay. And he gets his last dig in.
Okay.
His last dig in. Anyway, all right, guys. Just a quick reminder: Friday night at 9 p.m. Met Puppet Bill is back for all the fun we have with him. I can't wait.
I can't wait to hear what he thinks of the Mets this season too, because I'm sure he's got some positive words too to say.
Yeah, he definitely does. So that's Friday night, 9 p.m. Mets Puppet Bill, and then Friday night I will go over the rest of our schedule. So everyone, enjoy the game, and we will see you Friday night, 9 p.m. Let's go Mets.